The snow fell in thick curtains across the colony world of Dracarys Prime, a planet where humans had barely scratched out an existence among the ancient indigenous species. Emery huddled in her family's small prefab shelter on the outskirts of New Haven settlement, listening to the howling wind tear across the frozen plains. At only 12 years old, she had already learned that survival here meant watching, listening, and never venturing far from safety. But tonight, something called to her through the storm, a sound, barely audible over the wind, a high-pitched keening that pierced straight through the insulated walls. Emery pressed her ear against the cold metal, her breath fogging in the frigid air. There it was again, not mechanical, not human, something alive and in distress. Her parents had gone to the main settlement for emergency supplies, leaving her brother Peyton in charge. At 16, he took his responsibilities seriously, perhaps too seriously. When Emery grabbed her thermal coat and headed for the airlock, he blocked her path. "Absolutely not," Peyton said, his voice firm. "Mum and Dad said to stay inside. The temperature's dropping to -40, and there are frost wraiths hunting tonight." "Something's dying out there," Emery insisted, her dark eyes pleading. "I can hear it. It's probably already dead." But Emery had always been stubborn. While Peyton checked the settlement's emergency channel, she slipped through the maintenance hatch, the one their parents didn't know she'd learned to open. The cold hit her like a physical blow, stealing her breath and freezing the moisture in her nostrils. She activated her thermal visor and scanned the perimeter. There, just beyond their storage unit, 2 small heat signatures, growing weaker by the second. Emery stumbled through the knee-deep snow, each step a battle against the wind. When she reached them, her heart nearly stopped. 2 creatures lay huddled together, no larger than housecats, their scales shimmering beneath a coating of ice. Dragons, actual dragons, though the xenobiologists called them Dracona sapiens, the indigenous rulers of this world. Their kind had been here for millennia before humans arrived. They built cities in the mountain ranges, developed technology that made human engineering look primitive, and regarded the colonial settlers with barely concealed disdain. These 2 hatchlings shouldn't have been anywhere near human territory. They should have been in their clan's nest, protected by their kind. But here they were, dying. Emery didn't hesitate. She scooped both hatchlings into her coat, feeling their icy bodies against her chest. They were so cold they'd stopped shivering, a bad sign. She ran back to the habitat, nearly colliding with Peyton at the entrance. "Are you insane?" he shouted, then froze when he saw what she carried. "Emery, no, we can't. Those are dragons. If their family finds them here, they'll think we kidnapped them. They'll burn this entire settlement to ash. They'll die if I don't help them," Emery said, pushing past him. Inside, she laid the hatchlings near the heating unit and grabbed every thermal blanket she could find. Peyton paced frantically, running, calculations in his head all the ways this could go catastrophically wrong. Dragons lived for centuries. They remembered slights. They had destroyed human outposts for far less than touching their young. "We should contact the settlement authorities," Peyton said. "Let them handle this. By the time anyone gets here, they'll be dead." Emery worked through the night. She warmed them slowly, carefully, remembering everything she'd learned about treating hypothermia in xenobiology class. She dripped warm broth between their jaws, massaged their limbs to encourage circulation, and sang softly old earth songs her grandmother had taught her. Peyton eventually stopped pacing and helped, though his hands shook with more than just cold. He knew what this meant. Dragons weren't just animals. They were people, ancient, powerful, and deeply proud people. As dawn broke, the hatchling's scales began to shimmer with renewed luminescence. Their eyes, one set amber, one set violet, flickered open. They made soft chirping sounds and nuzzled against Emery's hands. That's when the sky erupted with wings. Peyton saw them first through the observation window, dozens of adult dragons, their massive forms blotting out the rising sun. At the center flew the largest, scales of burnished gold, eyes like molten metal, crown like horns that marked him as royalty. Emperor Vexter, ruler of the northern clans. "We're dead," Peyton whispered. "We're so dead." The settlement alarms screamed. Colonists scrambled to shelters. But the dragons didn't attack. They landed in a circle around Emery's home, silent and waiting. The Emperor approached the door alone. Emery opened it, still holding the 2 hatchlings. They chirped excitedly and launched themselves toward the massive dragon, who caught them gently in claws that could have crushed steel. For a long moment, Emperor Vexter examined his grandchildren, for that's what they were. Emery would later learn, lost in a storm, separated from their guards, left to die in the human territories that their kind had forbidden them from exploring. The Emperor's gaze turned to Emery. She stood barely as tall as his forearm. This small human child with frozen fingers and circles under her eyes from a sleepless night of care. When he spoke, his voice resonated like distant thunder. Translated, through the universal communicators all colonists swore. You risked yourself for those not of your kind. You gave warmth when you had little to spare. You showed honor where none was owed. He lowered his massive head until his eye was level with hers. The clans have debated for years whether humans belong on our world. You have given me my answer. What happened next became legend in both human and dragon histories. Emperor Vexter placed his claw upon the roof of their small home and spoke words in the ancient dragon tongue. Light cascaded from his touch, soaking into the structure. When it faded, the prefab shelter had transformed, reinforced, expanded, and marked with the imperial seal. This home and all who dwell within are under the protection of the northern clans, the Emperor declared, and you, small one, have earned a debt that dragons do not forget. As the sun fully rose over Dracarys Prime, two species that had eyed each other with suspicion began to see new possibilities. Because one small human girl had made a simple choice, kindness over fear, compassion over safety, Peyton stood beside his sister, watching the dragons depart, and realized that everything had just changed. Not through treaties or negotiations, but through the actions of a 12-year-old with a stubborn heart. You know they're going to tell stories about you for centuries, he said quietly. Emery smiled, watching the hatchlings circle back one last time to chirp their goodbyes. Good. Maybe next time someone finds something freezing in the snow, they won't hesitate. In the years that followed, that blessed home would become the first embassy between species, a bridge between worlds. But on that dawn, it was simply a place where mercy had been given and mercy had been returned 1,000-fold.